Hey, welcome in to the Okayest Youth Ministry Podcast, where three of the Okayest Youth Ministers talk about youth ministry. I'm Michael Deese, and I'm joined by Jeremy Crowe and Hunter Puckett. What's up, fellas?
Man, I'm just excited to be here. Like I said earlier, I've just had me a good biscuit, got my cup of coffee. I'm ready to talk about some youth ministry.
Yeah, I had a wedding this past weekend. I was out in a field, so I'm a little congested, but I'm so excited to be here and talk about youth ministry today.
What a good way to talk about this, bring this podcast into a start with talking about food and being congested. Welcome to youth ministry.
Roll Tide.
Oh, hey, we're just a bunch of friends that we were discussing a bunch of the stuff that we were wanting to be involved in, wanting to do. And we all kind of came to the same conclusion that we want to be able to help people.
Well, you know, to kind of say what you're getting at, for me, on the front end of youth ministry, a long time ago, there wasn't something like this, you know, not just amongst like our fellowship of guys, but just, you know, in the world, you couldn't do this. You couldn't find stuff where you could take in information and learn and grow and get better at what you do.
Yeah, you're
so that's old. Valuable to me.
Super old.
Super old.
Yeah,
I'm super old.
But I think Moses was your first kid to graduate through your youth group.
It was. It was actually his father, but it's fine.
So you had the whole lot, his dad and
I did. Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, we don't have a podcast like this, definitely not in the Churches of Christ, but certainly not when I was getting into youth ministry, going to college and starting up. We didn't have anything like this that was beneficial or that you could listen to. We just had the different events that you can go to, like the Ministry to Youth Conference or the different conferences like that you could go and learn and hear people's takes on different things. But we wanted to start this podcast. I'll let Hunter kind of take over on explaining what this podcast is for and what our purpose is with it.
Yeah, absolutely, Michael. And we talked about this a couple months ago, and we've kind of been building up to this point. We're excited to be here. And basically just summing up what it is we consume so much in our ministry, whether it's other podcasts, whether it's books, whatever it might be. And we're wanting to give back. We're wanting to start producing certain things. And that's the goal of this podcast, is just for us to really be authentic in youth ministry. So I feel like that's something that we fail at a lot of times when teaching youth ministry, or even at our youth ministry classes at Freed Hardman. They teach youth ministry, but it's not really the things that you're facing every single day. And we're hoping to kind of bring a lot of this to light and just kind of help people along the way and show them that they're not alone on their youth ministry journey, that we have struggles just like they have struggles.
Absolutely. And this podcast isn't just for youth ministers, it's for anyone. We know youth ministry is practiced by people who are not paid employees of the church. It's practiced by people who are elders of the church, preachers, any kind of minister, parents, volunteers, anything. And that's what this podcast is for. We hope that this podcast can be a resource for anyone that wants to do youth ministry or work with students at a church.
Yeah, I think Hunter said earlier, you know, learning about specific things. You know, we took classes. We all went to the same place and kind of learned some of the same things, but some of us in a different generation than others. But I think that some of the practical things, like just the day-to-day stuff, how do I prepare things for my classes? How do I make spreadsheets for managing things like the finances? How do I, you know, plan out my year calendar and some very specific details are things that I've kind of been, you know, trial by fire or learned through experience.
Hey, and side note, we didn't learn any of that stuff in college. No. That was all just stuff that we learned on the fly.
Had a lot of theology classes going through my biblical studies degree, but not a lot of, you know, and I don't mean to be negative about it, but not a lot of practical everyday application and how do I deal with certain things in the day-to-day of youth ministry.
And we did talk about some of that stuff, but there's just stuff that you can't really get prepared for until you actually experience it and do it. You know, and that's just the way that life is. And the same is true with youth ministry. Well, we hope that this podcast will kind of inform some of those situations and better help what you're doing. And so, but yeah, I was at a conference one time and I was talking with Hunter, and I had talked to someone. They said we constantly consume, youth ministers in general, constantly consuming, but we never produce. And so once we got that conversation, we decided we need to do something to put something out there, whether it's a podcast. And we're hoping that this expands into something a little bit greater. But the idea is start a podcast, get some ideas and get some thoughts out there for people that are right in the swing of everything and starting out youth ministry, or people that have been doing it for 20 years.
Well, that's what I'm excited about too, Michael, is this is going to kind of be an abbreviated season, I guess we'll say. We're planning on stopping in December and taking a break through the holidays. But what I'm excited about are the seasons coming up, the different ideas, the themes that we have, everything planned out, and bringing other people in to hear how they are youth ministers, to hear their expertise, to see what they do, and to have some other voices in the room as well. I'm excited to get some of those guys that we have planned to do that. And I'm also excited for us to start, our plan is to have a website, and we're going to start producing some things, whether it's VBS material, whether it's class material, whether it's sermon ideas for youth ministers or whatever that might be. We're excited for that too, just to help everybody in any situation, producing articles, helping parents out in different situations, whatever their kid might be facing. We're here for everybody.
So, for an example of what you just said, I know for myself, and I think both of these guys also have differing kind of experience with making documents or producing content and things. And so they probably, just like I do, have multiple gigabytes of files on their computer of different things they've made. And so for me, I want to try to figure out how to start to help others in sharing that. And so like an example of that would be this last year, we had a situation happen with one of our students, and it was a major situation without going into too many details. And it required me to do a lot of communication with parents, a lot of communication with the eldership, and to kind of write up a report of things. And so when I got done writing up my report, I sent it out to all the youth ministers in our area to say, hey guys, disregard the actual content of this information. Just look at the format in case you have something come up where you have to deal with a major conflict in the future. Here's how I dealt with it this time. It might not be the perfect way, but at least gets the conversation going so that maybe you can build off of that. And if you have a conflict that you have to deal with in that way, you know what to do with it.
Yeah, and resources like that is the kind of stuff that we hope to be able to provide. Whether we think, obviously we think that it's going to be a quality stuff and really good stuff, but that's kind of what we're aiming toward. That's the area that we're wanting to get into, is find ways that we can help people be better ministers, be better volunteers, better elders, better whatever.
Before you go, will you tell us a little bit about your experience going into ministry, kind of where you're coming from?
Sure,
maybe who you are.
Yeah, I don't think we've done that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Michael Deese. I'm the youth minister at Heart Soul Church of Christ in Hartselle, Alabama, and I have been here for just over a year. That's kind of where me and Hunter have gotten to be really good friends. Me and Jeremy, fun story, Jeremy was actually my youth minister growing up, and then now we're kind of getting to work and do a lot of fun stuff together. But I've been doing youth ministry for about 16 years, full-time for about 12. I've really enjoyed every bit of it. It's a really great place for me to be. I enjoy seeing the light come on when I'm teaching classes and taking kids to events and things. But yeah, let's go through and we'll let Hunter, you introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Hunter Puckett. I'm the youth minister at the Flint Church of Christ in Decatur, Alabama. I've been very blessed to be here my entire youth ministry career, going on 10 years and 7 years full time. I've absolutely loved it. I've loved the area. And that's something that really drew me to this area, was just really Jeremy and all the other youth ministers that were in this area, and just the quality that I knew I was going into and the longevity that they had at their churches really drew me to this Decatur area, and I've absolutely loved it so far.
Yeah, so I'm Jeremy Crowe. I'm at the Coleman Church of Christ. That's in Coleman, Alabama. I have been there for 8 years now, and I'm a total of 20 years in youth ministry. 2 of that was kind of part-time, and 18 has been full-time. And I'm old compared to these guys, but with that, I've kind of ministered through some major transitions in youth ministry through the years, and I've seen some major changes in students, and we'll talk more about that, I think, in the future. But it's definitely a changed landscape in the last 20 years. So
yeah, he was ministering to people before the 10 Commandments and after.
That's right.
It was a huge deal. There was a lot of
it's tough to go from the old law to the new law, really.
Yeah. It was. I got a bit pharisaical about it at times.
All right, well, let's get back into...
So sorry, I interrupted you. Tell us about your favorite...
Yeah,
Michael, tell us about your favorite event.
Yeah, my favorite event is Uplift at not Freed Hardeman, but that's where we went to college, so go Freed. But my favorite event is Uplift at Harding University. Harding is a really, really great school, and this event, I feel like it's so good because it does everything so well.
Yeah.
The way that it does the rooming, the way that it does all of the food, the classes, they have a drama each night, and then at the end of the day, you get about an hour to an hour and a half of just time with your kids and get to go over what y'all talked about throughout the day, talk about the classes, have a devotional time together and discuss things together. And I think the format, the layout of everything with that is just so perfect. And they just do such a great job. It's like they think of everything and have everything ready for every situation. So,
yeah, I'll just go clockwise here. The correct way to play every board game.
You do,
Jeremy. I am going to tell you for one of my favorite events, and I'll add on to what Michael said about Uplift. Is he said they just seem to do everything really well. They do it with intentionality, and I think so much of youth ministry is done haphazardly, or honestly, if we're just shooting straight, lazily. And I think it's given a bad rap to youth ministers as a whole that we don't think about things with intentionality. But I'll tell you this: the guys that are doing it well are being very intentional, and we want to be those kind of guys too. And so that's one of the things that I loved about Uplift as well. We've been to that with our groups, and man, they plan ahead, they think ahead, they plan for things to go awry and how to adjust if those things do go awry. I love that. For me, an event that I've really enjoyed over the years, we go to the Winterfest Youth Conference in Gatlinburg. We've been to that. We've been to CYC. Those are maybe one weekend apart, something like that. I've really enjoyed Winterfest. I mean, yeah, it's fun to get together with thousands of people and have a big worship session. It's a lot of fun to go stay in a cabin for the weekend and, play pool and all the arcade games upstairs in the cabin. The kids go crazy all weekend. That's a lot of fun. But, man, what I really love about Winterfest is they get people to come in that really understand the heart of a teenager. They understand exactly what their target is, and they point their arrows straight at the heart of a teenager. They aren't worried about teaching the elders in the room or the parents in the room or the ministers in the room. They are absolutely targeting teenagers and the conflicts and the things that are going on in their life and their day-to-day experiences and how to help them grow to know Jesus more fully. And I think that's awesome. That's what I personally love about Winterfest. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hunter?
There are a lot of really good events. Personally, my favorite is Exposure Youth Camp. I absolutely love it. It's in Huntsville, Alabama every single year, December 27th through the 30th. And it's something that's really cool about that is it never changes. It's always those dates. And for some people it is extremely inconvenient because it is right after Christmas. But for a lot of us, it is the perfect time because school's not happening at that moment. Sports aren't really picked back up in that moment. And it's just a great experience from the keynotes to the breakout sessions to the team times. Yeah. And it just really allows the kids to grow spiritually individually. I also love CYC, and the way that I view both of those is CYC is where my youth group at Flank grows spiritually together. Mm-hmm. And Exposure is where they're growing spiritually individually. And they're able to go out and they're able to go to their team times and meet new people and hear the keynote guys. And it's just a great experience all around. I know there are a lot of moving parts for that event, and they just handle it very well.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but great stuff. I have actually never been to EYC, and I'm hoping that this year will be the first year that I go and stay for full time. The last year I was going to go, but my daughter was born, so that didn't work out very well.
Well, and Jeremy spoke at one of the team times, or one of the
2 years ago,
breakout sessions 2 years ago. Did a great job too.
Awesome. Yeah, we just got back from Rush, just to kind of give another event that we've all enjoyed. But we just got back from Rush just a few weeks ago, and Rush is another really great event that's has come a long way. I mean, I remember back when it was just kind of hey, kids, come here, and we're just going to kind of go through stuff. But now it has become a really good youth rally event with really great classes, great teachers, and great speakers and everything.
Well, it's the intentionality stuff, man.
I really think
it was so blatantly intentional about what they were trying to accomplish and do, and they understood what their goal was, and they accomplished it. And I thought the same thing. I thought it was really, really much improved over previous years. So the only thing that's missing.
2 or 3 years have gone very well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The only thing that my heart was hurting was, man, I need a hypnotist. I mean,
I was missing the barbecue festival.
For years and years, they've had a hypnotist come in and do.
That's actually the first.
That hurt me that we didn't have a hypnotist.
That's the first year at Rush that I didn't get hypnotized.
I know.
I mean, I've done it every single year, and I didn't have it.
I needed you to get hypnotized.
I think a lot of people
needed you to get hypnotized.
That's a lot of fun.
All of your teens needed that.
Well, hey everybody, we are definitely glad that y'all decided to listen to this. I hope that this has been a blessing to you. I hope that you have enjoyed this introduction video. We have one coming up next week that we are hoping will be a little bit more beneficial. We're going to talk about some time management and finding out where our priorities are, and we'll discuss that and talk about that in the youth ministry context. Do you guys have anything else you want to say before we close out?
Nah. Well, let me ask you this. One of the things that we, I know we're kind of loose on this, but what would you say if you were going to identify, like, this is where I'm trying to get to, or what I'm trying to accomplish in ministry? This is a goal that I have. Yeah, I know you got a ton of different goals, but is there like one thing that you would point to, like, hey man, I'm trying to accomplish this all the time?
Yeah, actually, yeah. One of the big things that just my whole ministry is kind of based on is when they graduate and they leave, are they going to be prepared? And so I want to make sure that they are prepared. We talk about very difficult topics in my classes. We actually are just about to start a new one that are going to be very difficult topics. But I think what's happened is there's been things that are kind of taboo that we don't want to talk about. Mm-hmm. And then when students graduate and they go to school, people are talking about them and they don't have an answer for it. And so they think since they don't have an answer for it, they've gone to church their whole lives.
They've lost their faith.
There's not an answer.
That's what they think.
Yeah, there's not an answer to it. And so I want to prepare them with this answer. And make sure that they know that there is an answer for it and that there is something that they can look back to and get them prepared for that. So.
Well, and that's something that upsets me a lot in youth ministry are these books that we get for classes for teens, and they're so elementary level.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
These teens know a lot.
Their expectations are so low
on
what a teen can do.
And they can be pushed, like Michael said. We've been in some really tough classes lately, and they've kept up with it. They understand it because they're facing it in their schools. They're facing it in their life, and they need to know these tough questions that we face every single day. But no, along with what Michael said, absolutely. What are they doing after high school? Are they staying faithful? And mine used to be that first Sunday, and Michael and I have talked about this recently. It used to be that first Sunday. What are they doing when they wake up? Are they waking up and are they going to church, or are they going to what I heard is the Box Springs Church of Christ?
Yeah.
Or are they staying in bed? And now for me, I've kind of transitioned a little bit to that 5-year period. That what are they doing in 5 years? Yes, that first Sunday is very important, but we have kids that fall away, and we can't save them all.
Yeah.
But do they know where home is? Do they know that when life gets tough and they don't know where to go, do they know that they can always turn and come home?
Right.
And that's where I like to see that as well.
So, for me, a ministry goal, without getting too deep and emotional, my dad was somebody who, and Michael knew my dad well. He is somebody who loved everybody he met. Oh, yeah. And like he would walk through the grocery store checkout at Walmart, and as he's leaving, he'd say, "Hey, I love you, don't you?" To the cashier, who he just met. He would tell the waiter, at a restaurant, "Hey, I love you," and that seems so weird to me growing up, right? And so, but in ministry, man, one of my primary ministry goals, which I know seems so elemental, you would think, oh, I was hoping to get something really deep out of this. No, it's not. But 1 Corinthians 16:14 says, let everything that you do be done in love, right? Everything that you're about, be done with love. And for me, I am not the best class preparer. I'm not the best teacher. I'm not the best organizer. I'm just okayest, right?
That's right.
but I can love people, and that's what I'm. At least that's what I try to do well. And so, I think about that a lot. Is a kid's not going to remember. They're not going to remember my lesson, but they will remember my love after, they leave. And kind of what Hunter had to say there is, when a moment happens, when they're in a situation where they don't know who they can turn to or what to do or how to get help, they remember, hey, there's somebody that loves me, right, and that cares enough about me. And for me, one of my favorite things, and we've got a kid in the youth group right now that's doing this, and I love it. I think it's hilarious. This 15-year-old boy, that every time he talks to me, he'll go, I love you. And I'm like, man, there ain't no way when I was 15 I would have done that, right? But I think it's so cool. I think anything that we do has to be seasoned with love, and that's a passion of mine, that kids know that they're loved and know that they have support. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, that's all that we have. We hope that this has been beneficial to you. We hope everything has been well, and we hope that your ministry is blessed. Thanks for joining us today in the important conversation of youth ministry. Go and follow us on Instagram and check out OkayestYouthMinistry.com for more information about our upcoming episodes. We'll be dropping a new episode every Wednesday morning, and we look forward to talking with you again next week. And hey, it's okay to be the Okayest Youth Minister around, but let's all strive to be just a little bit better.